Welcome to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Neil, for joining me today here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Dr. Angela, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you are an executive leader, a coach, a mentor, and a teacher to kind of sum it up, but I know that you are so much more than that. I also realize that I may be introducing you to some new viewers, some new listeners out there. So first question to you, tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you you?
Well, you've kind of summed it up, really. So I'm an executive mentor, coach. I help leadership teams and business owners to get to a place where they want to get to and where they might not be able to get on their own. I'm also an endurance athlete and and a grandfather and husband and so on. So yeah, big family.
I love that. Fan of the big family. Now, I know that you have perked someone's ears up when you said endurance sports. I know that that's something very big here in the US as well. So let me ask this. You have moved between business and the extreme endurance sports. How have those worlds shaped the way that you do leadership? Or do you feel that they have in part shaped the way that you do leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. And every experience shapes how you do leadership, whoever you are. And I think that, my view is the more you push yourself outside your comfort zone, the more you grow as an individual. And one of the things I have to coach regularly is imposter syndrome. And one of the ways of overcoming imposter syndrome is by pushing yourself outside your comfort zone on a regular basis. So I think what endurance sports do is they make you realize you're more capable of more than you ever thought you were capable of. And if that's true of the physical aspects of your life, then it's also true of all other aspects of your life. So I think by taking on those endurance activities, it gives you the confidence and belief in yourself so that when you come to those hard leadership challenges, you can dig deep and use some of those experiences to help overcome that.
Oh, I love that. I love that answer. I think that for especially those first starting out, imposter syndrome is something that they think is going to stick with them forever. Back when I was a teen, they used to say, fake it till you make it. But I don't really think that it's that perspective. I don't think that people are faking it. I think that they're not believing yet that they are indeed the person that has been called to that purpose, to that calling, to that journey. So I love that you say every experience helps shape us and push us outside of our comfort zone. Now,
Mm.
speaking of that comfort zone, you are known for pursuing those tough goals. But I want
Mm.
to ask kind of the flip side. How do you help uh, others understand when you are the mentor, when you are the teacher, when you are the consultant? How do you help others believe that they too can accomplish these extreme goals?
Yeah, and I think that's a key part of being a coach, to be honest, is we when we set ourselves goals, we limit it by what we know and what's in our perspective. And I think it's a really important responsibility of a coach to challenge that
Mhm.
and ask the what if questions, or what would it take? What would it take to do double that turnover or double that profit, or to grow the team by 10 times in the next year rather than just grow it by two times? So I think it's important to ask the question and just plant the seed that gets the thoughts going. And I've seen it so many times with people I work with, whether it's in their personal life, where it might be they're thinking 10 years down the road, and actually it's something they could accomplish in a year, but they haven't really thought about it that way. Or whether it could be an earning goal, it could be a specific business goal that that you just push. I was doing it yesterday actually with someone, exactly that situation where they'd set themselves a goal for the year, and I said, "Well, why have you stopped there? What would it take to get to this big number?" And I'm a big fan of um, the lyric from Pitbull, which says, "Shoot for the stars, and if you miss, at least you're on top of the world."
Yeah.
And that's so true, right? So just set a big goal, challenge yourself, question why you can't do more, and if you miss it, at least you would achieve more than you thought you would have done anyway.
Oh, that is so true. I find that that is one of the hardest things that people have to experience. The belief, right? Just believing that they can, and
Mm,
how what they thought was a lofty goal, there's so much more loft that they could shoot for, right? And I
correct.
love how you're challenging people. And that is really a part of our, I think, our personal journeys as well. Just learning to be our best selves and taking life's experiences and parlaying them into that bigger something, that more purpose driven something. Speaking of experiences, and I want to make sure that I get this question in, and that is winning the Yukon Arctic Ultra is one of the biggest races. Now, someone may think of that as running the Boston Marathon here, or doing one of the big races here that means so much to our athletes here. But
Mm, mm.
that was a defining moment for you, I'm pretty sure,
Ah,
doing something so grand. How have you been able to take the lessons of that entire journey? Because you have to train for that. You have to have the mindset. And then there's the after, right? So,
mm.
how have you been able to take that and make that a part of your life lesson? What would your TED talk be, for example?
Yeah,
With
so I mean, there's
experience.
so many answers to that question. There's so many elements to that question as
Right.
well. And so when I was out in the Yukon and doing the event, the first night was incredibly tough. It was one of those nights where the temperatures dropped to the lowest they've ever had in that area. It went to minus 55 degrees centigrade. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's very cold. And out of 44, 45 people that started the event, only six people were still going after the first night. And I'd got through it. I was feeling good. I was heading off into the second night. And as I was doing that, I thought, why is it I managed to keep achieving these physical goals? And what could I do to help others achieve their big goals? And that was why I came up over the next 5, 6 days while I was on my own, because I was on my own most of the time in that event, to come up with a structure to help others achieve big goals. And that was why I came up with the 7P formula for helping people. Because I wanted to come back and build something that was going to be easy for people to follow if they wanted to achieve those. And I've learned so much from getting to that point of being able to take on that type of event. And then it was transformational. That was part of your question. It was a transformational moment in my life because I'd been in corporate life for 30 years. And on that second night, I decided I'm going to go and do my own thing now. I'm going to actually move on, set up my own business and do my own thing. I made lots of decisions during that moment or during that session because it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And it was incredibly transformational physically and mentally.
Now, I know that for many people, they have different experiences emotionally as they go along the journey. And you kind of touched on that, and that is the isolation. Sometimes people have a
Mm,
really tough go at that. You also achieved, and looking at my notes here, a 5,500 mile ocean race, spending 30 days at sea. Now, for some people, it's like if it's a vacay, that's one thing. 30 days at sea, but if it's a race, that's work. It's a totally different perspective. But there's also that isolation. And you touched
Mm,
on that
mm,
as well. Many
mm,
people have a tough time either by purpose pulling themselves away for that reflection to do the inner work, the deep work that needs to be done. Sometimes it's just a requirement of the job, right? You're going to be isolated away from people. When it comes
mm,
to business,
mm.
how do you help people understand that sometimes you're going to be in front of the crowd, but sometimes you have to do the inner work? How does that help them transition and understand it's not always a day in the sunshine?
Mm. Great question. Yeah. I think do you know, it's what's interesting about human beings is when we are in crowds, when we're around lots of people, we crave time on our own. And when we have time on our own, we're looking for that having other people around us. And so I think there's a balance. If you, because if you're spending all so time on your own is really powerful. It's time to reflect. It's time to allow the inner voice some time to help you. One of the things the main incredible experience I had while I was in the Yukon, it was on that second night, and I was really tired. I mean, I hadn't slept for 48 hours, something like that. Very dark, and I had this almost, um, yeah, just a really strange experience. I was going to say spiritual experience, but it was a really strange experience where there were two of me walking along, and I was talking to the other person next to me. And I'm getting chills talking about it actually, because I haven't talked about this much, but it's a really strange feeling and I remember it was vivid. It wasn't dreaming, it was absolutely vivid. There was part of me that was, this is really hard, are you sure you want to do this? And then there was another part of me which was, you know, this is who you are. This is what you do. So I think that would never happen if there was all this noise around me. And that's extreme, right? You don't have to spend 48 hours walking in those kind of conditions. But I think time on your own, I do a lot of meditation, time in prayer, and it's that moments on your own. But we are human beings love living in tribes. We want to be part of a tribe and so we're not designed to be on our own the whole time. So utilize it when you can, but also seek the comfort of others as well.
Mhm. You said a very powerful thing there, and that is that experience of, walking along with yourself.
Mm,
And I remember hearing, I don't remember who it was, but I remember it was a gentleman and he was talking about training for some type of event. And much like your experience, he says, we have to learn to conquer the little voice that
mm,
tells us that we can't, right? I can't run another mile. I can't walk this. I can't swim. I can't do this thing. And once we learn how to silence that little voice, then we can start to do more and more. Now, I've never run a marathon. However, my goal was to be able to run 5 miles in a day. And
mm,
when I first started, boy, was it okay, we've done enough, right? And then it was, nope, I remembered that conversation. Got to keep going. And didn't hear
mm,
it again till it was a mile. Then didn't hear it again until I was at 2.5 miles. Then didn't hear it again until I was at 4 miles. And then it was, are you serious? Have you not learned? I am not stopping. I am going to make this happen. And I
mm.
love how even in your isolation with the all that you have done, you have these experiences and we learn how to push ourselves so that we can do the all that we have been created to do. I love that story.
And I
Now,
think that's so important as well, Dr. Angela. I think it's so important to silence the voice that
yeah,
is telling you you can't. Because and this is where the imposter syndrome comes in as well, because that's a voice as well. There are so many examples of people who have achieved much more than they should have been able to.
yeah,
with their physical ability or their mental ability or their circumstances. So that voice is just there, and it's trying to protect you, so it's not a bad thing. It is trying to protect you, but it's lying to you. And it's one of the things to step out. That's the voice that wants to keep you in your comfort zone. And if you can quieten that voice and step outside the comfort zone, you say, see, I can do it. I can run that extra mile. I can do that set up that business. I can build that charity or whatever it might be. I can do it because there's a million reasons why not, but find the reasons why.
Ooh, I love that. I cannot agree with you more. Man, I this is why we have the show, because there's always something, a nugget of wisdom that someone is going to say that I know that if it hits me and it's like, ooh, that was yummy, that someone else is going, "Ah, I needed to hear that today." So
Mm.
thank you. Thank you for that nugget. Now, I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you about being an author. Now, of course, your
Mm.
book is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold, but tell
Yeah.
us about the book.
Well, the book was written, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it was that second afternoon when I decided I needed to put something together to help other people achieve their big goals. And so I called it You Can. So the Yukon was where I did it, and it's called You Can Achieve Any Big Goal using the 7P formula for success. And I just put together the 7Ps to try and help people with steps to get there. And it's just a story of the journey through the Arctic, plus some of my experiences in the military and in other events as well. And just stories of where I've learned some of those steps of the 7Ps that will help. And just for context, the 7Ps are purpose, knowing your reasons why, preparation, specific preparation for whatever it is you're about to attempt, building a plan, pledging to yourself that you're only going to go forward, you're not going to go backwards, you burn the bridges, having perception so you know that you're making progress towards your goal and you're doing the right strategy, having a pain strategy because things will go wrong, but think about it in advance. So you've got a pain strategy. And the final one is persistence because you only ever fail if you give up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, my last question for you, and yes, if you guys thought I was going to ask a follow-up question, nope. If you want to know how the story ends, buy the book. If you want to know more, pick up a copy from your local bookstore. I know, because it was intriguing. He named some really good stuff there. I know what you're thinking. Tell me more. Buy the book. I think that you will enjoy it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
of course. Now, my last question for you is if there's someone out there, as someone who is successful in your purpose and along your path, I like to refer to us as passioneers. We do that thing that we have been purposed to do. If you wanted to give a nugget of wisdom, one last bit to someone who is aspiring, someone who's ready to take that step but need that last little nudge, what would that be?
If someone is aspiring to whatever they want to achieve in any area of their life, I think the thing that I spend most time helping people with is finding purpose. Because once you've got that purpose that is incredibly powerful and strong, and there are two types of purposes in my view. There's internal purposes, why you're doing it for you, and that's great. That will get you to the start line. But the more powerful purpose is who else will benefit from you achieving whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Who could you inspire? Who could you help? Who could you motivate? Whatever that might be, because the external purpose, the things we will do for other people will get you to the finish line.
I love it. Neil Trubron, thank you so much for speaking with me, spending some time with me here today on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. I have so enjoyed my conversation with you today.
Dr. Angela, it's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.